everyone, and welcome to the Cinematic Schematic, the official podcast of the Cinematropolis.com, your home to thoughtful conversations on film, and this year's official podcast media partner for the deadCenter 2021 Film Festival. Now, today's topic, between out-of-state projects like Killers of the Flower Moon, the Academy Award-winning Minari, the upcoming Reagan and Stillwater, and also other homegrown projects like Mickey Reese's Agnes or Kyle Kawasaki Harris's Out of Exile, Oklahoma seems to be in the middle of a boom in film productions. And thanks to the increasing tax incentives, the availability of new production resources, and also top-notch talent that's emerging here in the state, both behind and in front of the cameras, Oklahoma continues to carve out its place as one of the top states in the country for making film and television. So in today's exclusive deadCenter 2021 conversation, we're joined by an incredible panel of leaders working in the Oklahoma film industry to talk with us about what's driving the exciting momentum and increased film and TV productions in our state. So what all can you expect? Well, we're going to hit on what's been driving the recent growth in the film and TV projects here in Oklahoma. We'll also talk about unique key traits that make Oklahoma an ideal place to make a movie or a TV show. And then we'll also hit on insights into what the future of the industry here could hold. So without further ado, let's welcome our amazing panel of very special guests. First off, we're going to start with Tava Sofsky, the director of the Oklahoma Film and Music Office. Tava, welcome to the Cinematic Schematic.
Thank you for having me, Caleb. It's good to be here. Happy deadCenter week.
Oh, fantastic. Happy deadCenter week indeed. And you know, isn't it great? We go from 5 days to 10 days. Just let's keep the party going. We're also very excited to be joined by Melodie Garneau, the president of Green Pastures Studio. Melodie, welcome to the Cinematic Schematic.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm really, I hope I live up to Amy, who was going to be here. So hopefully I'm be just as good.
Well, your sense of humor so far has proven that you're going to be a great stand-in.
Well, thank you. I think I appreciate that.
We're also thrilled to be joined by Cassie Gann. She's a production coordinator on Mickey Reese's Agnes and a producer on the upcoming films Country Gold and Chicken House. Cassie, welcome to the Cinematic Schematic.
Thank you, Caleb. I'm very happy to be here.
All right. Well, Tava, I actually want to kick it to you to start today's conversation because we've seen it's been a tremendous couple of years here in the state of Oklahoma when it comes to film and television productions. So from your perspective over at the Oklahoma Film and Music Office, what would you say have been the key factors that have led to the successful growth that we've been seeing over the last, say, 18 to 24 months?
You know, of course, it's a culmination of a sequence of events, of course. But I mean, Oklahoma stands out in the deadCenter of the U.S. You know, one reason just because of our unique and very diverse locations, which I think we'll talk about later. You know, our office, but also paired with just so many industry leaders and industry partners and community partners. And I'm going to pick on Melodie here. It's kind of ironic that we're here together, but you know, it's ultimately over the years, what's been happening is when like we're doing certain work as the film commission and we're hitting the pavement and telling everyone how awesome our state is and telling the legislators how wonderful the program is and how it is creating jobs and all of these things. But I just have to say, I mean, in going back several years to probably 2015, 2016, this young woman here, Melodie Garneau, called me up one time and she said,
Tava,
yeah. She said, I know that you've just done a research trip to Georgia and you've gone and you've studied. And by the way, the Georgia Film Commission and just the state has been incredibly generous to us. And, you know, they opened every door for us to go inside and look and see the potential that Oklahoma had because we didn't have sound stages back then. And so we had an incentive program that was growing. So that was helping lure some business here, helping retain some of our talent like Cass here and helping our vendors kind of get their legs under them. But ultimately, when people like Melodie would say, can I bring my state representative to Georgia? Can you help us open those doors? And so that started, I mean, 2015, 16 was when we were trying to recruit a massive TV series that we were just a little too premature. We weren't quite ready for them, American Gods. And we got them for, 5 filming days out of a 100-day schedule. They stopped production and mid-production from Canada and came here. And so we had, small successes over the years, right, that just kind of kept building and building, and then really opening some of our state legislatures' minds back in 2017, 18, and helping them again see the infrastructure outside of the state that could be here. It started the wheels just turning in a different way that I can't really explain. Again, it's one thing for me and for our office to kind of preach these sermons, but when they hear it from private sector, it really means something different. I mean, they're our constituents, right? And so we've just seen that again happen this legislative session with 2 years ago we doubled the cap from 4 to 8 million, and then as we know, as everyone knows, we've tripled, more than tripled it from 8 million to 30 million. But again, it was I mean, we're not in any advocacy type role. We're just here to serve and administer the program as best we can, and help connect all the dots to make everything happen. But it was private sector, and there were so many wonderful industry stakeholders that came together and said, we want something great. And they built something incredibly genius that I'm already so excited to market. And like, we're already talking to, producers and studio executives and people in LA. So it's, I have to, contribute the success that we've been seeing and that we're seeing and experiencing today to the collaboration between city and tribal government. We've got the Tulsa Film Office and the Cherokee Nation Film Office, who also came into the fold this year to really help advocate, as well as industry professionals. And again, the stakeholders. You're looking at one right here, and then you've got the Prairie Surf Group with Prairie Surf Media downtown Oklahoma City. And then you've also got Castle Row Studios and their Post Hero production facility. And there's so many others that we could name, but they came together and they worked together and they built a really great program that we get to now lure more business and retain more business and expand here in the state.
Awesome. Yeah, I think that's all really important context for our listeners and viewers today, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight. It is years and years of work from hardworking people like yourself and to make it happen. Now, Melodie, I want to hone in on a little bit here in your role and the role that Green Pastures Studio has sort of been playing, because I know, as Tava referenced, that there was a point where there was some, I would say, I wouldn't say a total lack of resources, but maybe not the resources that would be as attractive to other producers out there. And one of those was a quality soundstage that was big enough for larger productions. So can you tell me a little bit here about what has Green Pastures Studio done to really step in and help fill that role?
Tava has part to thank for that, because we're all persistent, or annoying could be also a word used for me, I'm sure, with that the legislators would agree. But when we went, Tava referenced the trips to Atlanta and to Los Angeles with different representatives and senators, and I got to the place where I couldn't take them saying anymore. But you have to have this three-legged stool. You need the studios, you need the crew, or the sound stages and the crew, and you need the incentive program. So you have to try to work on all those things at once. And so from the time Tava was looking for something from American Gods and until last year, when we finally found a spot that we could open up, it's been a slog to get through that and find the right place and all of that stuff. Now, and we were very fortunate, we found a very good location that already had a part of the building, which was a gym, a basketball court, and but it was built with 1 foot thick walls and ceiling and high ceiling, so that we were very fortunate in that regard. And then we put we did all the stuff to it, the sound stage equipment and the sound suppression, stuff like that. So that gave us the opportunity to bring in the classes for our Oklahoma Film and Television Academy, because the other part of that stool was the crew. So we have, we've been building and building standing sets, so that we have like 5 or 6 standing sets for any production, so they don't have to move locations. We have the first sound stage, so it's the first absolutely totally ready soundproofed and all of that, that is working for the state. Of course, there are more. Prairie Serve's coming up. Tulsa's building, the Cherokee Nation's building, but um, we are getting busy. We're getting calls all the time now. I kind of just Tava, I thought this would be interesting to you. Just today, I was talking to someone, or they were asking about, well, what does the incentive package look like, and are there movies waiting to come in, because we've had a lot of calls. And I said, well, I sort of liken it to. So it's like the land run all over again. Like all these movies were waiting on the edges for the legislators to make their move, and then they passed the package, and now they're all going to sort of, okay, get out of the way, I was here first, kind of thing, and see who can get the money first. So um, we're ready for them. We've had three productions today, all at the same time. So every corner of these places has been full. And yesterday I did a tour with our bankers so that we could expand. And it's so, we're getting a lot of calls. So that's and we want to make things bigger all the time. We have so many opportunities in Oklahoma, thanks to hard work of people like Tava and the talents of their Cassie. My talent is I'm just annoying to people, and they just do it eventually because they don't want to hear from me anymore. So it works.
Yeah.
It works
Yeah.
for me. I'm okay with that.
Hey, I mean, I want a persistence plaque on my wall too. I mean, that's the only way you get anything done.
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, exactly.
If once you don't succeed, you just keep trying, and eventually they'll cave.
That's right. That's right.
Dr. Seuss? It sounds like a Dr. Seuss.
It does. It does.
Well, we'll have to check the quote on that. Yeah, Dr. Seuss quote of the day. I do want to turn it over to you, Cassie, here. I mean, you've been working really hard in the film industry. I should say congratulations on the inclusion of Agnes, both in this year's deadCenter, but also the Tribeca Film Festival, having its
Good
world
for
premiere at
you.
Tribeca.
Wow.
So congratulations.
Thank you
Just
very
kicked off
much.
today, right, Tribeca?
Yes, and you can get tickets online at tribecafilm.com/at-home, and you can watch it virtually. So it's a virtual
Wow.
premiere. So everyone should go watch. It's very exciting.
No, so Cassie, as an up and coming filmmaker here in Oklahoma who's been working really hard for a long time, what would you say most excites you about these sort of like these resources that are really growing and developing, in addition to what I would say is a really strong sense of community we have amongst a lot of filmmakers here in Oklahoma?
I mean, I think what excites me the most is that this is just the beginning for us as a film community. I mean, we're growing together as a film community and family, as I like to say. You know, we're watching and experiencing our film community grow before us day by day. And I think it's also great, watching, our talented individuals in the film industry make their dreams come true, especially in their home state, which, as a child, I never thought was possible. But here we are. It's only up from here.
Yeah, awesome. Well, and I think it kind of goes back to, again, some of the things you were talking about, Tava, and I think it's going to take us in this next question here. I mean, you talk about not only are you trying to attract, talent from out of state, but you're really trying to develop and retain the talent, the awesome talent that we have here already in the state of Oklahoma. So I know Melodie over at, Green Pasture Studios, that's actually just one of the major programs that has, you've worked on. I mean, I believe Amy also started the Oklahoma Film and Television Academy. Can you tell us a little bit more about the main goals of the academy there, and sort of what sort of successes you've already seen?
Sure. So one of the things we realized with the studio was if we had the studio, but we still didn't have any crew, that would not. We just have a building with nobody in it, and no more reason to keep people in Oklahoma and keep them from going off to Atlanta or California. So we realized we needed to crew up for things very quickly, and of course at that time it was the Killers of the Flower Moon wasn't here yet, but we knew it was coming, and we knew that it was going to take up every single person in the state and then some. So the Film and TV Academy we strictly do crew. We don't, we're not going to teach directing and acting and all of those other things. We're going to teach you, about PA stuff and about being grips and gaffers and all of that makes a film, all those people that you need to do it, and every job from craft services to whatever. And so we did a short course program so that basically it's sort of like a very short basic training so that you can step onto the film set and not get fired in the next 5 minutes because you grabbed the wrong thing or talked to the wrong person or you didn't know how to fill out your paperwork, so you were going to get paid never, or the film was never going to get finished because you didn't turn in your paperwork. So we try to teach a basic course that way and tell you that before we even finished our first round of students, we had 8 out of 10 of people were already being, they were calling us, say, can you put, do you have these guys? Can we have some PAs and so forth? So we've had more than, I think, an 80% success rate, placement rate so far. And we have graduated. So we've done 10 classes of the basics, and we've graduated just over 300 people, I think, since October. And as I say, it's over 80%. And that's not just one job. So they've been on more than one film, more than one set, whatever it may be. It may be a commercials, it may be whatever it is. Not necessarily, $100 million film, but they're getting a lot of experience. And then so the idea was that we keep people here. We not only get the films here, but we get the people who make the films to stay here. And I'm sure that Tava can tell you many, many horrible stories about trying to get expatriates back from California and convincing them this is the place to be, and then having to very, very quietly say, and we're having $8 million cap, so that they like, oh yeah, not so much. But so she has more weapons now, but that's the idea, is to get people to stay here and to give, and the other thing is to keep them educated, because one of the complaints I heard a lot from people when before we got to the place where we could do a school and a studio is that when people come to film here, even if we had some crew that were here, they might not necessarily be up on the latest of technology, because unlike us who can really zoom right into Zencaster like nobody's business, but because they don't have the opportunity to be on those films where they're going to learn the next thing, and it's kind of like iPhones. It's next week, it's a different phone. And so you've got to stay up on it, or you're not going to get those jobs anyway, even if we had the people. So we try to keep a continuing ed kind of thing going there as well, and help people to figure out in the early courses, what's your interest really? Do you want to be in grip? Do you want to be in craft services? Are you a chef? Are you a driver? Whatever it is, and try to guide them that way. So and then we help them to get jobs. We're going to help them get on at least 2 sets, and after that, they're either going to sink or swim on their reputation, and that's the way it should be. So, that was the goal for us, just to get a community thing going. That answer that, I hope?
Very eloquently. I think that just goes to show that, the filmmaking is a viable career. There is a career path. I can graduate high school. I can get my associates or bachelor's, and then I can go get the training I need. And then you're saying an 80% placement rate. I don't know. That's a lot higher than a lot of different career fields out there right now. So,
and not that I want to discourage people from higher education, but that's not a requirement. The film industry doesn't ask you what college did you go to and what's your GPA. They want to know, are you going to show up and do your job and do it well and be here when we need you? And because it's long hours sometimes, but it's a lot of fun. And so, you don't have to say, well, I was going to finish college, but it took me 75 years or whatever. But you don't have to worry about that. And you still need a job. It doesn't make any difference where you went to school or whether you did or not. So I'm not discouraging people. Please, if you've got a scholarship to Harvard, be my guest. But or give it to me, one or the other, and stay here and do that. I don't care.
And like you said, all it takes is a sort of like a high school degree and that the right attitude to learn and show up and do the job. I mean, I just think, again, that's tremendous opportunity for those folks who want to just get right into the film industry. And Tava, I want to turn it to you. I mean, because Melodie really laid it out there. She keeps using the word ammunition and tools and resources. So tell us a little bit here. I mean, how does this investment in filmmaking education provided by the Oklahoma Film and Television Academy, how does that better attract and support the increasing number of productions that are coming to Oklahoma from out of the state?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, it kind of goes back to Mel's statement earlier about the 3-legged stool. ultimately, the Film and Music office, we just actually moved from underneath the Department of Tourism to Department of Commerce. And it's interesting because those are the same legs of the stool that, that other industries, right? Whether it's aerospace or oil and gas or whatever it is. I mean, everyone needs to make sure that incentives, that component, the financial, the bottom line is always important, to spur on industries, et cetera, and retain them. And then the workforce and the infrastructure, it's all important. But for our industry, the workforce, that's one of that's probably the second question that I get every day is, the first one being, do you have an incentive? And do you have money available? And then the answer is always yes. Even if it's 3 pennies, we've got money. We're not going anywhere.
That's right.
No. But in all seriousness, and then how's your crew? How deep are you? How many projects have you had, in recent years? How many are on the slate now to film? Everybody wants to know those numbers, right? Like how many productions can you accommodate at once? And when I came in, it was like 2 to 3 crews deep. Lately people have been saying 4 crews deep. Plus we've got that expatriate roster. I can also look at our production directory has grown like 17% since last September, because we all saw the writing on the wall and we knew that we were hopeful, because we're also persistent, to see the boost in the incentive and really get that across the finish line, that everybody started training. Specifically the Oklahoma Film and Television Academy. There's multiple other programs that are starting to bud up. And so the Film Education Institute of Oklahoma, I think, has conducted one workshop, and another one's coming up in July next month. And so those programs, correct me if I'm wrong, Mel, were literally created because of the demand for content needing to be made in the world and the demand for crew and local workforce. It was literally just the means to that end, or the ends to that. It was to fulfill that need. And I think they've all done a really fantastic job. And then you've got in the background, you've got OCCC, Oklahoma City Community College. That program was stood up by, Academy Award winning Gray Fredrickson, who cared enough about his home state to come back after making, so many successful movies, to come back and give back into his community. And it's interesting because job placement is really high, and I won't say numbers. I'm on the film advisory board there, and I won't reveal those numbers, but we want people to also graduate from that school, because that's how they get their funding.
Sure.
But the job placement ratio, the job placement success rate is so high, which is a really good sign, right? That this is an industry, there's jobs, there's people, there's places for people to step into today. And the thing that I love most about this industry is there is something for everyone. There is literally a job. I haven't found a skill set that doesn't cross over. Literally, it could be anything. And I always point people to, we've got a really fantastic, just like a career workforce, one sheet on our website under the film tab at okfilmmusic.org. I would definitely encourage people to go there. We have a whole dedicated page to getting started to work in film. There's also getting started to work in music, because the two industries, or work so well in tandem. But if you're just curious, like, I wonder if my skill set could transfer, it will. And so it's such a great business. It's such a great business to be in. And so yeah, it's been really cool to see all the training and all of that going on. The career tech schools are also really taking a hold of this. Metro Tech and where Jacob Snobble has taught down at Moore Norman, and Meridian Tech's doing some stuff. And there's a lot of the schools have already been working in this space, but there's more interest around the state. And we would love for all the universities, OU and OCU and OSU, everybody who has programs, to contact us, because we're trying to make sure we've got all the sort of current programs, because everyone's coming to us going, where can I be trained? Or if I am trained, where can I plug in?
And Cassie, I actually want to turn to you just here for a moment. I mean, obviously, there's been a huge investment in educational resources available. As a filmmaker, especially one that's looking to grow in the community, as you mentioned earlier, is that exciting to you to have these sorts of educational opportunities available to you?
Absolutely. Especially since, I knew I wanted to be in film since I was very little. And hearing you guys talk about like what is available and seeing with my own eyes what's available makes me excited for, other generations and also for myself because there's never enough knowledge, you can always grow. So I'm definitely excited.
Yeah, it sounds like there's no shortage of opportunity, and again, just making it a viable full-time career. The
Yes.
future's looking pretty bright. Speaking of a bright future, Tava, I'm going to turn it back to you here for a moment because you've referenced it a couple times, but there was a recent expansion of Oklahoma's tax incentive and rebate program from $8 million to $30 million. What does this sort of financial expansion mean for film productions, both homegrown for filmmakers like Cassie, but also from productions outside of Oklahoma in the months or even the years ahead?
Yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, people are always interested in incentives, and globally, if you don't have an incentive, you won't get the phone calls. And so we are just so grateful for this new raised cap and increased incentive. It is a brand new program. So the former current program that's called Compete with Canada Act will actually continue its life until it sunsets in 2027. So by then, all the productions that have utilized that program to date, including Flower Moon, there's like 50 that have already filmed that or are filming that just need to be paid out. So hurry up and get your paperwork in so we can get you paid. So that program will just continue and it'll just go dormant at the end of its life, right? The brand new program called Filmed in Oklahoma Act of 2021 offers a very competitive percentage. And it is very important to know for all of the young filmmakers out there that are tuning in for deadCenter this session is that it is a cash rebate. So a lot of states have tax credits. Oklahoma is very unique, and I think really kind of we're just got that little edge because we're a cash rebate. So what that means is you have to have a minimum of $50,000 budget, so 50, with half of that spent in state as that would be deemed qualified expenditures, and show proof of funding and show your insurance. But you spend X amount in Oklahoma, and the state says thank you for bringing new money into our state, right? We will rebate you up to 20% baseline on your qualified expenditures. So the qualified expenditures are any Oklahoma taxable transaction, right? Or in money put into an Oklahoma pocket, right? So there's a big list. It's rental car companies, it's local travel agents, it's local CPAs, it's local security companies, police, fire, all the crew, the actors, the talent agencies, the transportation companies, and all the expenditures, the food. I mean, the list goes on, right? So there's a big list of those qualified expenditures. So productions again can get 20% cash back. We also the state now also offers additional uplifts on add-ons to the baseline. So if you spend a little money over here in rural Oklahoma, you can qualify for an additional percentage. If you spend a little over here in sound stages, if you spend some, you stay here and you commit to doing your post-production here, which might include, the music score, right? And some of our incredible facilities here around the state. And then we also will incentivize additional uplifts if you're a television series, or if you will commit to producing 3 pictures within a 3-year period. So you could produce 3 in 1 year, or 3, you have to be able to produce that and show all your receipts to get paid out within the 3-year term. So there's a lot of different uplifts, and a production could qualify for up to 38%. So it's a really great competitive program. We're right in there with all of our competitors around in the region and throughout the state. Throughout the country. And then again, we can pay out up to $30 million each year. The program will currently run through for 10 years through 2031, or it could be modified over the years, because I'm sure we're going to utilize the well-structured program and keep it growing. So that's the program, and it goes into effect July 1. We are working hard on the administrative rules behind the scenes, which will be signed by the governor after July 1, and then we'll open up the new queue. And so you can go to our website under the Film Incentives tab. And if you want notifications about what day and what time the queue will open, you can just punch in your name and email, and we'll add you to the notification list.
And that's when they fire off the starter pistol.
Yes.
Everybody starts running.
That's right, the floodgates. Mm-hmm.
If I may add just really quickly, we had 2 events, one in Tulsa on Sunday and one here in Oklahoma City on Monday. I don't know if you got to go, Tava, but
yes.
Did you go to the?
I went to Monday. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
Oklahoma City.
and they were very well attended. And the whole point was to sort of celebrate, with film people about the incentive program, but also to remind people that as we learned when they had to cut the budget a couple of years ago and took some money away, and then they added some, and then you have to, Tava has to do this thing of proving why this is a good industry every so often and say why it's growing. Those are things that can go away, but they can also get better. So no one should be complacent about it and say, oh, well, then you don't need me to call anybody or whatever anymore. It's great to stay informed about it and to say, okay, well, this is what's happening, and this will be helpful for the film industry and for my industry. So people need to keep up on that. So Tava's job is a little easier because we're all trying to do it too.
Well, and I want to say too, it really sounds like listeners or attendees, you really want to you want to come July 1, you really want to make sure you keep your eyes on the Oklahoma Film and Music Office website to stay up to date. So great note from Tava there. And one thing, Tava, that you hit on that was most interesting, I know currently Reservation Dogs, Sterling Harjo's project, is an FX television series that's being filmed here. But just the idea that television series are incentivized along multi-picture deals. Is that an area that we're interested in getting more hands-on in, the television programming?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. And honestly, that was the notion back when it was right when I stepped into office. My predecessor, Jill Simpson, had just worked really hard to build this new program. And when they put the program in place in 2014 for a 10-year renewal, that was the whole notion, was to attract and to recruit television. It just, the cap wasn't high enough to get the bigger business. And so we've learned, and it takes time, evidently. And so, absolutely, television is, it just, you think about it, everybody here probably watches television, and what you see is so we're incentivizing a pilot to come, but then we're also incentivizing subsequent seasons, season 1 up to 14 plus, and it's repeat business. I know multiple local filmmakers who turned down other really large productions and motion pictures that were filming around the state to commit to working on Reservation Dogs in the Tulsa area, because it was Sterling Harjo, and who wouldn't want to work for that genius, but also because they knew it was follow on work, right? They know they have a job next year. And with FX, their success rate of getting picked up is like minimum 4 seasons. So, it's fantastic. So if you think about that's one. So we're celebrating film, but the storytellers during deadCenter, but television is definitely a new sort of, a new arm, I think, of Oklahoma, our film community. And if we can just line up, which we're really hard, there's a lot of people working on this, line up 2 or 3 other ones. Just think about that. It just, and then there's a half a dozen other studios that are talking about being built around the state. It's just, that's what happened in Georgia. It can be done. It's happened in other places, and it will happen here. It just, people are catching on. It's kind of like it's wildfire. People are just catching on, jumping on the train, and help us build out the industry statewide. We're excited.
Fantastic. Again, it's all thanks to the many years worth of hard work to build that infrastructure, bring the resources in, and really get the momentum needed with some of these projects. Now we're going to start to wind down the conversation here, but Cassie, I actually want to turn it back to you here for a moment because we have talked about a lot of different developments that are happening around the state. As a filmmaker, though, what would you say is most excites you about the growth and the projects being developed, both in state and out of state? As a storyteller and a filmmaker, what excites you there?
Oh gosh. I think one of the best things for me being, an Oklahoma native, and in the film industry is that when I'm working with Oklahoma native filmmakers as well, like directors and crew, the drive and passion and love that they have for each individual project that they create, that's something that excites me a lot because I have passion for film, and when I see somebody else have that same passion, it's powerful. But as a producer, I'll say, my hope for the industry in Oklahoma is that we keep that same momentum for years to come. I want to keep that passion alive. And we see these Oklahoma filmmakers that have been making movies for years, before any incentives came about. Prioritizing those filmmakers and getting their projects up and running off of the beginning, is what makes me very excited. I want to continue to work with Oklahoma filmmakers. And you said out of state too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I'm working on something currently, and I have the utmost respect for every single person that is on this crew. They're very friendly, and open to, sharing their knowledge with me and, others as well. I'm excited to work with out of state, filmmakers because I love being able to see their processes and learning from that to continue on with other projects here in Oklahoma. Um, and it's also giving our local crew the opportunity to work with some other incredible people as well.
Right, it's going back to that really big knowledge share. We're growing, the knowledge organically, with what Mel's group doing at Green Pastures, but also really being able to learn from the cream of the crop who are coming in from out of state, here as well, and keeping that knowledge here. I think, so. Wow, that is super exciting, and we are about out of time. I did want to give everyone an opportunity to talk a little bit about where's the best place to keep up with all the awesome projects that everyone's working on. It sounds like everyone's got a lot of exciting things in front of them. So we'll start with you, Mel. Could you tell us a little about where listeners can keep up with you and your work, or the work that Green Pasture Studio is doing?
Absolutely. So we are on our website at greenpasturestudio.com, and then you can go to ofta.tv to see schedules of classes and what classes you can do. This coming up weekend, we have so people start with their set ready, which is the basic classes, and then they go on to specialize. So this week we're doing um, DIT and AD classes. So we have some folks coming in from Los Angeles to teach those classes this weekend. And then we start a pilot that we're doing for starting on Thursday that we're producing ourselves, but that means our students get a practical chance on an actual pilot this time. Next time we will do a feature. And we actually have some interest in, we're fingers crossed we can get that one in front of some networks, and maybe these folks will have a job for many, many seasons to come. So, go to our website and take a look.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Mel. Tava, how about you? Where can people keep up with you and the work you're doing over at the Oklahoma Film and Music office?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just wanted to mention one more really cool feature that I think will excite our listeners, is about the program, is that it also includes a requirement for an apprentice program. And so we are holding the productions to it when they come and they're asking, to utilize the program. We're requiring them to help us train up and to employ Oklahomans in that role. So that's really exciting. I mean, a lot of our productions over the years have always had interns, but that maybe they're just getting school credit, which is cool too, but we're saying employ them. And so all those details are on our website. We have an FAQ that we just put up yesterday because we were getting so many questions. So definitely you can go to our website to learn more about the incentive. The statute is posted. Admin rules will be coming, like I said, after July 1. So go to okfilmmusic.org. I also want to encourage people to, if you are crew, or if you are just stepping into this industry and you've worked on one thing, register in our production directory, because that's where everybody goes to look for crew. I know the Tulsa Film Office and the Cherokee Nation Film Office also has really fantastic crew directories for their regions and jurisdictions. But at being the state film office, we've got everybody in that directory for crew, and then also for vendors. There's also music talent and music businesses there on our website. So please, make sure you're registered. Make sure you put your photo up there instead of, the thumbnail that we provide you, so they can see your face and they can put your resume, keep your IMDb up to date, all those things. It's all those things are really, really important. And then the continuing education that you touched on and keeping everybody's tools sharp. I want to drive people to the educational resources. So again, you can find them under either the film tab or the music tab. We have built out and created and partnered with community leaders statewide to build out a really robust new set of workshops and tools. So just go in there and look. There's just so many great resources. There's OFTA has a podcast, which is a very Crew 101 you can learn about. There's Maggie McClure and Music Searchlight has built out a lot of things with Castle Row. And there's just been so much new content. And honestly, a ton of that was created during the pandemic when everybody had the ability to create. So please go there and visit. It's really great resources for you. And we'll see you out there. We'll see you on sets or in the office out there around the state.
Fantastic. Cassie, you have a lot of very exciting upcoming projects, including Agnes, which again, as we mentioned earlier, is debuting at the Tribeca Film Festival. Where can people keep up with you and your work, as well as any other upcoming announcements about Agnes?
Well, like I said, you can go to the tribecafilm.com/at-home and you can buy some tickets to watch that virtually. It's a virtual premiere. And we just wrapped on Country Gold, and that was filmed in February, so hopefully we'll be seeing that pretty soon. And then Chicken House, we are filming beginning June 14th and probably wrap around June 28th. And Out of Exile as well. You'll be seeing a lot from Out of Exile as well.
I'd be remiss if I didn't mention for deadCenter attendees this year, a great way to wind down the festival. Agnes is actually playing at Rodeo Cinema on Saturday, June 19th. So it's in person. So you will actually have to be in the theater. But if you want to get a really rare special screening, Agnes will play June 19th. That is Saturday, June 19th at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time at Rodeo Cinema. So if you are curious, make sure to check it out. I can say there are fewer things that excite me more than watching a Mickey Reese movie at Rodeo Cinema. So it's the perfect
Go
venue
Mickey.
for it.
Go Mickey. Oh, I love all of our Oklahoma filmmakers. You're right, Cass. They're so incredibly talented, and they're doing some incredible work. I would be remiss if I didn't plug our series of panels that we've been producing and curating. My team has been producing over the past few weeks. They launch on Saturday, June 12th. And I think you just go to it's a Zoom series. And so there's some really cool surprises in there. So please go check those out. There's one called Show Business, the impact of that the industry has on local businesses, Breaking New Ground with Prairie Serve Media. There's 2 volumes of Take 10, Oklahoma Film Education. And then the last one, Setting the Stage for the Future, Growth and Development due to Senate Bill 608. So please go check those out. If you're just curious, you want to learn, keep learning. Those are some fantastic different series that you can tune into through deadCenter.
Yeah, that is part available to deadCenter pass holders. And I would say if you found any part of the conversation today interesting, it sounds like those panels are really going to drill down and more to the different specific kind of areas of the industry that are being impacted.
If I may, Caleb, just throw something out there. Amy, James, and myself are going to start. Well, I'm not sure when we're working with the media radio station to start a weekly radio show that will be about film in Oklahoma, and have guests, and what's coming up, what you can do, all that kind of stuff. So we're very excited about that. So I'm sure that we'll be interviewing all of you at some point. And so watch for that. I can't tell you what station yet because we're still working with the Tyler and all those. So keep your eyes out. We have great faces for radio, so as they say. So it's perfect for me.
Well, fantastic. It sounds like a lot of exciting things on the horizon. We are out of time today, but I did just want to quickly thank, firstly, deadCenter for allowing us to come and have this conversation. You can actually buy your passes over at deadcenterfilm.org, and that's going to include access to the panels that Tava mentioned, as well as a number of incredible films that can be done virtually, as well as some of those in-person screenings like Agnes, that Cassie film that Cassie was the production coordinator on. Tava, Mel, Cassie, thank you all so much for joining us today and for sharing your expertise.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Caleb.
Thank you, Caleb. Happy
Wonderful.
deadCenter.
Happy deadCenter indeed. And viewers and listeners, thanks so much for joining us today. If you did enjoy today's conversation, again, I want to highly encourage you to follow the work being done by each one of our guests, as well as deadCenter's social media pages for further developments related to film and television here in Oklahoma. And for more thoughtful conversations that excite, inspire, and connect filmmakers and film enthusiasts, especially in the state of Oklahoma, you can subscribe to the Cinemetropolis podcast, the Cinematic Schematic, via your preferred podcast app, including Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or you can go wherever your podcasts are found. We have several exclusive deadCenter interviews that you won't want to miss. You can only get on the Cinematic Schematic podcast. Thanks so much to everyone for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next time.
Consider this next question very carefully. What is your one purpose in life?
In the beginning there was darkness, and the darkness was without form and void. And in addition to the darkness there was also me. And I moved upon the face of the darkness. And I saw that I was alone.